And you are live.
All right. Well, welcome everybody.
Welcome everybody.
Oh, I have an echo.
I have an echo.
This is the virtual meeting of the Board of Supervisors of an Elections for May 20th, 2021. The meeting's called to order. We can have roll call. Eileen Leahy, Chair.
Brianna Cuffey, member, present.
Regina Watkins, Elder City Clerk.
Ashley Leonard, Assistant City Attorney.
Susan Eckert, Elections Assistant.
All right, great. First order, we'll be welcoming, I know we have some other guests tonight that we'll be welcoming in a few minutes. First order of business is approval of the minutes from April 15th, 2021. Brianna, do you have any comments?
I didn't have anything.
Okay. I should note that Cliff Myers has a family situation tonight and doesn't look like he's going to attend. He may be able to phone in later or come in later, but he's not here this evening. I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so approved. Okay. As far as public testimony, we don't have any via the web form. We do have invited guests tonight, David Garris from the Anne Arundel County State Board of Elections, and also Daniel Oldham from the State Board of Elections, Anne Arundel County also. Is Joe going to be joining us tonight, David?
Joe looks
He's
like he's on.
Oh, Joe's here. Great. I can't see everybody. All right.
Okay.
Joe Torrey's here also from the Anne Arundel County State Board of Elections. We also have some of the candidates here that will be present during our checking on their certificates. So next order of business then under discussion is the certificates of candidacy. The first one on the docket is David Frankel for the Annapolis Democratic Central Committee, Ward 7. Mr. Frankel, do you have anything you wanted to say or ask? Mr. Frankel?
You're muted, sir.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'm looking for a lively campaign.
Okay. In order of, as far as the certificate of candidacy, the only thing I had a question, and it wasn't just Mr. Frankel's, but I think Regina already answered it for me. On some of the certificates, the name of the organization wasn't listed. And I think, Regina, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't need to be filled in right now because many times the account has to be open first.
You are correct.
Okay. All right. So does anybody have any comments about Mr. Frankel's certificate? Oh, Mr. Frankel?
No, I was just waving hello to Alderman Tierney.
Oh, okay.
Hi, David. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. How's your dog? Listen.
He's trying to get in the room.
All right, guys, you'll be off in a few minutes. You can take it up then.
We don't get to see each other too much.
So anyway, for Brianna.
With that being said, my only question would be, I guess, what would be a timely manner for us to receive the updated certificate of candidacy that includes the name of the organization?
What name of organization are you looking for there? I'm not clear on that.
Usually it's like friends of somebody. It also usually there's a check mark there saying if there's a political committee.
Right. That, as far as I know, there is not. And Mr. Frankel does not intend to receive contributions or make expenditures of more than $100.
Correct. So I'm just making sure that it's okay that it's blank. That's all.
Okay.
And I think Regina has ascertained that it is.
Okay.
Correct,
That's my only
Regina?
question then.
Okay. Can I have a motion then?
Motion to accept the certificate of candidacy for David Frankel.
Okay, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Congratulations, Mr. Frankel. Good luck in your campaign.
Thank you.
All right, the next certificate of candidacy on the docket is Rhonda Pindell Charles, who's running for Alderwoman Ward 3. Any comments, Brianna?
I didn't have anything.
Okay, it looked
Yeah.
fine to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have a motion to,
Motion to accept certificate of candidacy for Alderwoman Pindell Charles.
second, and all in favor?
Aye.
And then Ellie Tierney is running for Alderwoman Ward 1. Alderman Tierney, do you have any comments or questions?
No. There was a little blip about my address, but I think that's all in order now. So I'm
Okay,
real excited.
good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And a motion?
Motion to accept certificate of candidacy for Alderwoman Tierney. I didn't have any comments about this one either.
Okay, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Congratulations, Alderman Tierney, and good luck in your run.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you all for being here.
Yeah, I have to leave to go to a planning commission meeting. So I hate
Your
to,
life of meetings.
I know. That's a virtual world. So yeah. Okay. Congratulations, fellow Democrat there, David.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Good night, everybody. Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you so much.
Next item of business is just our election update. The first is just wrapping up some things for the memorandum of understanding between the city of Annapolis and the Anne Arundel County Board of Elections. At our April meeting, we reviewed a number of things concerning the MOU, and on April 19th, Ashley Leonard and Regina Watkins Eldridge and myself met with a group up there to work out some of the additional details. So we've asked some members from the Board of Elections to be here this evening to just answer some questions, particularly on the items that we really need to finalize tonight. Number one being what type of mail-in, a vote by mail option are we going to decide on doing for the 2021 elections? We have made the decision that there's going to be one polling place in each ward. Tonight, we need to make the definitive decision on which polling place in each ward. But looking at, we have gone from considering a vote by mail option that mails ballots out to everyone to sending out the applications for absentee ballots to everyone, and then back to mailing ballots out to everyone again. I know that Cliff Myers has sent me some comments. He, I think in his comments is mostly preferring sending out the absentee voter applications to all voters as his preference, but understands that there are some challenges associated with it. And I just really wanted to ask Joe Torrey or David Garris just to kind of review with us what are the challenges with doing an absentee ballot application. Say if we were to send it out in August for both elections, would that make it possible, or should we stay on track with the mailing ballots to everybody?
Hi, this is Joe Torrey. Eileen, I think that, so your question is, do you want to mail out applications? Just so I'm clear, mail out an application one time and have the voter fill it out for a primary and general, correct?
I mean, that's Cliff's suggestion. I don't know how that will work in terms of if people decide later that they want an absentee ballot and they missed it the first time. So again, we're just getting some feedback from you all.
Right, okay.
I mean, I know that your concern was being able to get the applications and turn them around and then get the ballots back in. And I assume that that's still a concern.
Yes, with your September, November election, the September primary would be okay, but the turnaround between September, October, November is too short. If you required an application for the general election, it wouldn't work. You'd have too many complaints with your voters.
Right. And that also has to do with finishing the canvas and then even making up the ballot, correct?
Right. I think you and I talked the other day. Well, the second question was just the mail ballots. That would be the preferred method, would be just mail ballots for the primary election and just mail ballots for the general election without an application. And we did that in the primary election of 2020. And then for the general election, we had July, August, September, October. We had 4 months to get an application back and get it out to the voter, mail it to the voter, and the voter mail it back. And with 4 months, we had people at the last minute that didn't get they sent their application in, but we didn't have time to process it. So they either had to come by our office or they had to vote in person. And we had, normally we have 195 locations, but we only had 35.
Okay.
So 32.
Oh, so you had the opportunity, voters had the opportunity to download the ballot on their computer, which we wouldn't have in Annapolis.
Right. We can't do that for Annapolis now.
Okay.
Municipal elections aren't, it's not a primary concern for the state. So what we do for state elections, we can't do for municipal elections throughout the state because they don't have that functionality built in.
Okay. Brianna, did you have any questions?
I don't think so.
Hey, Ashley, Susan, Regina, on the topic of mail-in.
I have a question. Okay. So basically, if Joe's suggestion is just to mail a ballot to all registered voters, so how would that fit into our Exhibit B?
I do not have Exhibit B in front of me, so maybe
we would have to. If the board decided to do that, we would have to amend Exhibit B because the deadlines would have to change. Correct?
I don't have it in front of me, so Exhibit
just
B.
Asking, based on what the board decides, that Exhibit B will probably have to be amended.
It's the roles and responsibilities document. That's what Exhibit B is.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't have everything etched in stone until tonight.
You don't have it memorized?
Yeah. So once you decide, we will finish the MOU.
Okay.
But yes, we'll finish the MOU, whatever you decide. We can do that.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. And then the next topic is drop boxes, which I believe we've decided we're going to go, or we've had discussion about going with 8 drop boxes, locating 1 at each polling location.
And we can do that. That's fine.
Right. And we've already set up and talked about security and things like that. So I don't think there's any further questions on that. We've also been talking about the curing of ballots, which means taking off the privacy flap to see if the oath has been signed. And then if it hasn't been, notifying the voter. I believe when you all ran the last elections, you were able to contact them either through text or email or various ways, which I don't believe we can do if we do that at the city level.
No, we would do it from our office. If we get it in, it's not signed. Curing a ballot would, just like you said, it would be so that if you do a vote by mail election, if you mail ballots out, we wouldn't want to disenfranchise a voter. So we do call them. If we have their phone number, we call them. And if we have an email address, we email them.
Okay. And then they come into your office and sign it?
Yes.
Now, could it be that they come into City Hall and sign it?
No, because the ballot, well, if we call them, we could, you could come pick up the ballots that we have and take them to the city if you want to. That could work.
Could the courier drop it off when they come to empty the drop boxes?
Hey, Joe.
Yes, yes,
Hey, Joe.
David?
yes.
Just to interject, one option that we did for the general election, for the federal elections, was if somebody was not local and they had an absentee, we would take and email them a copy of the oath. They would sign it, date it, and scan it and email it back to us.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that would be an option for the city, but
that's another way that we use to cure the ballot. Yeah.
Right.
But your question, Eileen, we could bring it down there
Okay.
as long as you have someplace to secure it, and which I'm sure you do.
Right, with the election office.
Sure.
I believe that when we've talked about the email option, and Ashley, please chime in if you can, because the city doesn't accept e-signatures. I don't know if we can accept an email signature.
Well, we have accepted emailed signatures. We just haven't accepted things like DocuSign signatures. So
Okay.
if there's a hard copy signature at some point, even if that's scanned, we have been accepting that currently. But what we haven't been accepting is a purely electronic signature, like through a program like DocuSign.
no, we weren't. In the 2020 election, we weren't utilizing DocuSign. We
Yeah.
were sending PDFs and they'd print, sign, scan, and return it.
I think in theory that would be fine because it is technically a hard copy signature.
Okay. All right, so that might be a possibility. Okay. Any questions more on that, on the curing, Brianna or Ashley or Regina, Susan?
No.
Okay, and
No.
then the final thing, which I talked with Joe about last week to get a better understanding, is with going with a mail-in ballot system, how do they get counted? And because our city code says they can't be opened before election day. And Joe, maybe you can explain the process that you explained to me, which is, essentially you're opening a canvas. And so then the question becomes, do you open it before the election, the day after the election, or later, or just wait until the canvas is currently scheduled to open, which is the Tuesday after the election? So
Right.
David, if you could go over that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we talked about, this is Joe Torrey. We talked about just opening them at a regular canvas. And we would have to canvass the ballots. What we did, we opened them before the canvas in the primary and general election of 20. We streamed the canvas, but your canvas is going to be much smaller. So,
But I think you said you thought it could take 2 to 3 days.
yes, it could take 2 to 3 days, and the board members and attorney would have to be there. Your board members and attorney would have to be present.
So if it's going to take 2 or 3 days, if we wait until the Tuesday after the election, it could be that following Thursday or Friday before we declare winners.
The certification, yes.
Right. But we could, if we wanted to, or if we could change it, how would it be if we were to start the canvass the day after the election? And then we would get our final ballots in, the mail ballot, the final ballots that come in through the postal service that have been postmarked by election day, we would get them on that Tuesday after the election, and that would be the final day of the canvass.
Mm-hmm.
And is that,
yes,
that possible and workable?
Yeah, because what we do is, as the ballots come in, we batch them in 25s and put them in folders. So we would have them ready for the canvas. And whatever day you pick to do the canvas, if it's the Tuesday, did you say, can you do it on Wednesday after Election Day?
Right.
And then we'll bring in election judges. If it's so many that the staff can't handle, we'll bring in election judges to help us run the canvas, they'll be opening the ballots
Okay.
while you all are there. But
And,
it's something that we can do it.
okay, and it's okay to do it the Wednesday, or is there a preference to maybe do it Thursday and Friday?
No, do it Wednesday because we'll already have ballots in the office and we can start right away.
Just get started? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I believe we have the ability to make some legislative changes and be on the agenda for Monday. Ashley, is that correct?
I will have to, check with Jacqueline Lee on whether she drafted the language, unless Regina happens to know. I have not seen it yet, but I can check with her tomorrow or tonight. And then Regina would know about agendas more than I would.
That legislation is not on the agenda for Monday, the 24th.
It's not.
It is not.
If we get the put together, is it possible to have it added, or do we have to wait until July?
The agenda went out today.
Okay. So
I don't think we have to wait till July.
No, we're having a meeting on June the 7th. If we had to, we could probably push it. If we had
oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got my months mixed up. Okay. June the 7th. Okay.
Yeah, I'll check with Jacqueline. The only other option would be for someone to move to add it on the floor Monday night.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay.
But I will check into that.
All right. What are your thoughts, Brianna, on starting the canvas the day after the election?
That's fine. One question, David. Is this for primary and for general? We'd have to do 3 days or 2 or 3 days after both.
I
This
think
is Joe Torre, yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Yes,
and how many ever days it takes to finish the canvas. Hopefully
Right.
we can get it done in 3 days though.
Right. Well, and this would pretty much be the same even if we went with another vote by mail method, such as sending out the applications.
Right.
Because we're anticipating we'll have more people using the drop boxes as opposed to, in person. And it would be great if we have an increase in voter turnout overall.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think aside from that, that's really the only question I had, as long as, I've got enough lead time to be able to plan around it, I can be there and everything, so.
Okay. Joe and David, what was the increase in voter turnout with the 2020 elections? I think I heard that there was an increase.
David, you have that in front of you?
I can
Put
bring
you on
it
the
up.
spot.
I can bring it up real quick. We had orders of magnitude higher turnout, in particular for vote by mail, of course. Early voting was well over 100,000, but overall turnout was higher. We did set turnout records for the overall turnout.
I believe it was about in the 74 percentile.
Wow.
And that's generally for a presidential general, it fluctuates between 70 and 76.
Mhm. Well, it would be great if the city of Annapolis could get voter turnout increased, and I'm hoping that a vote by mail option will certainly help with that. I think speak for the board. We'd like to see that. We also recognize that there's going to need to be outreach and need to be some more communications out there to all of the voters, and we're prepared to do that. So,
Right. Your voter outreach program will be important since we're making changes. You're correct.
Correct. Okay. Regina, Susan, or Ashley, do you have any additional questions?
Can I just clarify one thing? So you're saying that you want the canvass to start on the Wednesday after the Tuesday primary election? And so that would mean that you guys would have to come into the office and take your oath of office, but that would give the county the ability to open the ballots and start setting them up in batches of 25 until Tuesday? Or are we doing it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and no Tuesday?
I mean, my understanding is we start it the day after and we count the ballots that we have. And then if we don't have ballots to count on Friday, we wouldn't meet on Friday, but we still would. I mean, if all the ballots are counted on Wednesday and Thursday, we wouldn't meet on Friday or Monday, but we would have to meet on Tuesday because that's when our deadline for receiving absentee ballots, which are essentially the vote by mail, unless that's different.
The other thing, Regina, what we're doing, we're pre-gaming the ballot, so we're not opening the envelopes.
Oh, absolutely. I was just wondering
Yeah.
if that's exactly, did that mean that the board have to be present while you're doing that if you have any ballots to?
No,
Get
the last election that we, in 17, we did 17, I forget the years, but anyway. No, we just do that normally in the office. Your board doesn't need to be present. We're not opening ballots. We're opening the flaps to see if we need to cure the ballots. But the ballots won't be opened until your canvass.
Right, but we would need to be there for the canvass.
Definitely, yes.
We would need to be there Wednesday and Thursday.
Right, we will open no ballots with, the board has to be there.
Right. And then if I understand it, there would be, and also it's open to the public.
Correct.
And there would be unofficial counts made each day. Now, are those unofficial counts, would they be made public?
Correct. We will give them to you so you can post them on your website.
Okay.
Hey, Elaine, I just checked. The legislation to move the canvas date was done. I had just forgotten that was, and it was scheduled to go on to the May 24th agenda. So I sent an email to Jacqueline to see why that didn't happen, because that's what the city attorney had decided and scheduled it for. So I'll check on that.
Okay. All right. And if it doesn't work and we have to go to June 7th, that should work also. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Dave, Joe, or Dan? Do you all have any questions for us?
This is Joe Torrey. I do not have a question.
I have a question. Hold on one second. Okay. I have some questions from Jody in the finance department. When you say you're going to mail the checks to the judges within 30 days from what date? Because Exhibit B says it on the spreadsheet that mail within 30 days. Is that 30 days after the primary? Are we doing two mailings? Or are we doing 30 days after the general? And if so, when should she expect to receive the spreadsheet from you?
The spreadsheets you'll receive a couple days after, a day or two after the election. So it's 30 days from election day. And so you're going to do two cuts of the checks. This is Joe, I'm sorry. You're going to do it right after the primary and right after the general.
Okay, so 30 after the primary and 30 after the general. Okay. And let's see, and okay. I guess we're not going to know. And we also looked at Exhibit B, and we didn't see a date to expect the ballots to be sent out.
We can work on that as soon as you make a decision. As soon as the board makes a decision, we'll work on a date.
Okay. And I think my last question is your Exhibit B says something about picking up the archived information after the election. We need to make arrangements to pick that up, because I think you guys kind of delivered it to us last time.
We'll deliver it to you.
Thank you. Okay, and that was all the questions. Oh, and the custody care and control forms, is that something that we're going to need in our office again?
Yes, this is Joe, yes.
Okay. And for the at-large judges on election day, the board will be at the office with you. Will the at-large be at the office with me?
That's what you want, right?
Yeah, because typically people call our line and they start calling prior to the election. So we would
Yes.
probably know before you would. Okay.
Yes,
we
they'll
need to
be,
have
they'll be
space
there
now.
with you just exactly the way we did it the last election.
Okay. So at-large will be in city office.
Yes.
And I think that's my last question. Thank you.
All right.
I had a quick question. In regard to Exhibit A to the MOU, which is the municipal election information, it's the Maryland State Board of Elections. There is a questionnaire that gets filled out. And I don't know, do we fill that out or does the county fill that out? Who fills that out?
As soon as the board this is Joe, as soon as the board makes a decision, we'll work on that together.
Okay, great, thanks.
Anything else?
One more thing. Joe, I have a question for you. Would you guys like to be invited to the meeting that we have set up with the purchasing office for all of the things in Exhibit B that it says that we're responsible for contracting?
Certainly, that would be wonderful.
We don't miss anything?
Yes, we would want to attend.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Dan, since you're here with us, I know that you did some analysis on the polling locations, and we're going to be voting on the final ones tonight. I don't know, Brianna, do you have any questions, or does anybody have questions for Dan?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I think all of the ones on our list that we're currently considering met, we've gotten the feedback on the analysis. The only one I'm wondering is, Dan, we got a late availability from Mount Moriah. And I don't think that has been looked at in terms of being a double two precinct polling location. Do you recall that site, or do you recall seeing anything?
Yeah, I remember Mount Moriah. No, I think if we needed to use that as a double, that would work fine.
Okay.
Now, they
Or a
said,
consolidated, excuse me, a consolidated where it's
Right.
two together as one polling location.
Okay.
and just to clarify, Mount Moriah said they would be willing to be a Dropbox location, but not a polling location.
Oh, I'm misunderstood. Okay, for Dropbox. Okay, all right. Never mind. Okay, do you have any, David, Joe, Dan, any questions for us?
This is Joe. I don't have one. Dan or Dave?
Nope, nothing for me. Thanks.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you attending the meeting tonight. You're welcome to stay if you'd like, but you're also welcome to leave if you prefer. I know it's after hours for you all. And we will get this wrapped up so we can get this MOU finalized and really get starting on a lot of the operational work that needs to be done.
Well, thank you for inviting us this evening, and we're ready, willing, and able to assist you. Just let us know what we can do.
Great.
Excuse me. Can I ask Dan a question? Hi,
Yes.
Dan, it's Regina. Just a question. If you needed city buildings, I'm probably going to be your first point of contact for the city buildings. Just an FYI.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Well,
Thank you. Good night.
good night.
Good night.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the next order of business is polling and Dropbox locations, but which we can do and then get down to the vote by mail method. But actually, I think we should probably decide on the vote by mail option. We've talked a lot about it back in, like I said earlier, back in December, we talked about sending out applications to all registered voters, having them return it, and then having the State Board of Elections send out the ballot, and then having the ballot returned either through mail or Dropbox. And so when we talk about the vote by mail, we're also talking about having in person. So if anybody is, watching this meeting tonight, there will be in-person voting. So Brianna, your thoughts on mailing ballots to everybody, every registered voter, versus sticking with the absentee voter applications?
I mean, I'm fine either way. As long as the kind of timing works out with ballots, mailing ballots, that's fine. But I think for me, the application is also just fine, but I know that there are some preferences elsewhere for mailing the ballots. But.
My preference, I think that the State Board has made it pretty clear that there could be some complications by sending out the absentee ballot applications. And to me, it seems that the risk for some challenges is greater with that method as opposed to the mail-in ballots. At our MOU meeting, they assured us that they keep their address list pretty clean. It doesn't mean that people haven't changed addresses and notified the Board of Elections. So I think when we start working about outreach, we really remind people it's their responsibility to update their addresses. And even if someone doesn't receive a ballot by a certain date, they can call and get information. They could still vote in person. If someone gets a ballot and doesn't want to mail it in and wants to vote in person, they can do that. So I think there certainly is a degree of flexibility. It is what the mail to everybody was done for the primary last year.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm fine with it.
Okay. The information I got from Cliff, and I hope I'm accurately describing it, is that his preference would be to try to work out a way to do the absentee ballots, but that he is understanding that the mailing ballots to all registered voters may be the most feasible option. I'm reading his comments correctly. He sent me some information. I don't have his exact thing. I have it. Can't find it exactly. It's a pretty big comment on a number of the items. So I think we need, Regina, we need to do a vote. Can we do the vote with just two of us?
Absolutely.
Because we're quorum.
Absolutely. Yep, you have a quorum. You can vote.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Are we doing motion to mail ballots or for primary and general, or which you want to start with?
Well, I think if I'm hearing correctly, we're talking about mailing ballots to all registered voters in the city of Annapolis for both the primary and the general elections.
Okay. Yep. Motion to mail out ballots to all registered voters in the city for the primary and general election.
Okay, and I'll second it. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Does that work for you, Regina?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, then the second order is to finalize the polling locations and Dropbox locations. At our last meeting, we made if I'm accurately looking at my April minutes, we did decide that we were going to identify one polling location in each of the wards. Actually, out of the 8 wards, only 2 wards have secondary options that we've looked at, and we've looked at a lot. And, when people have asked me, I've said, we've looked at a lot, many of them aren't available or they don't meet the standards that are required. Regina? Did you want to speak?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, your thing is on.
Oh, it may have just picked up a sound from her.
Okay. So Regina, can we just go through and name which one for each of the wards and just do one vote, or do we need to do each ward?
No, you can just go down your list, and I'm going to put a check by the ones you choose, and then you can make a motion to adopt them as
Okay.
a group.
So in Ward 1, we're looking at City Hall. Correct, Brianna?
That's what I've got here.
Okay, for Ward 2. Ward 2 has an option for the Michael Bush Annapolis Library or Calvary United Methodist Church. Both have been used in the past. The Bush Annapolis Library is, both of them have transportation routes, but Michael Bush, the library actually has additional bus routes that run past it. And it is available and can handle the security needs for the drop boxes. That's my preference. Do you have a difference in terms of your preference?
No.
Okay.
No.
So Ward 2 would be the Bush Library. Ward 3, fortunately, they have come through and said that they will be a polling location for Ward 3. There is not an option 2 for Ward 3.
Sorry, pause. How are we entertaining the feedback we got from candidates as far as?
Well, that's a discussion for all of the wards. So, and I can bring that up later, and that can be something that it was taking care of it. That's a question that was asked in the last election. So if we can go through this, then I can mention that. Ward 4 for the American Legion, Cook Pinckney Post, it is available. Heritage Baptist has been an option in the past, but they believe they may have some conflicts. So the number one choice, the choice for American Legion, Cook Pinckney Post would be the option there. Okay. The Pitt Moyer Rec Center has been a polling location for both wards in the past and is available to do it this time. There is no secondary option for them. For Ward 6, the Eastport Community Center has agreed to be a polling location. And as I've been updated or didn't look at my chart correctly, Mount Moriah is not available to be a polling location. So that gives us just that one to pick from. Ward 7, the Eastport Annapolis Neck Library is available. In the past election, the Annapolis Neck Fire Company was available, but they are not available for this election. Of interest to me is that Ward 7 doesn't have any election location options within the boundaries of the ward, but
we do not.
What?
We do not.
Yep. So the Eastport Neck Library is it, and it has been a very consistent polling location for a few election cycles. Ward 8 has options for Eastport Fire Station, the Mount Zion United Methodist, and Eastport United Methodist, and then the Annapolis Maritime Museum. I believe the Annapolis Maritime Museum was used for the first time in the last election. If I'm reading them correctly, they would prefer not to be a polling place because of the museum and also other activities. Eastport Fire Station has been a polling place in the past, as has the Eastport United Methodist Church. Mount Zion has not been a polling place in the past. In looking at the transportation routes, Eastport Fire Station and the Eastport United Methodist Church, which are almost next to each other, if I'm looking at the map correctly.
Yep.
Does have transportation routes available along Bay Ridge. Mount Zion is more in a neighborhood and does not have a nearby transportation route available to it. It does have the space and is willing to be a polling location. So Ward 8 is really one that we have 3 options to choose from.
I think I'd go with the Eastport United Methodist Church just for the parking aspect of it. Because the further down the street where the fire station is can get real clogged real fast, especially with it being one way.
Correct. My concern only is that the Eastport Fire Station has been consistent in the past, where I believe the United Methodist Church hasn't necessarily, I think, Regina, can you correct me if I'm wrong? I believe we asked them in 2017 and they weren't able to do it. The fire station, to me, the other advantage would be they do have parking, and you're right, there is like a one-way.
Yeah. And I mean, it may be something where the church is fine with, kind of doing overflow as far as parking goes. But I mean, I'm not either that or the fire station's kind of more convenient location wise.
Regina, is there? I'm sorry.
For United Methodist Church for a previous election.
I'm sorry.
We did use the church for election in the past. I don't remember which one though.
Right, but it wasn't I don't believe it was in 2017.
It wasn't in 17, no.
Right, because they couldn't do it, and that's why we ended up with, well, actually, in the past, it's been the First Baptist Church.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure they have actually. I'd have to go back and look at it again. My preference for the Eastport Fire Station is also because of the security. I believe they have security cameras possibly already in place. Do you know if that's true, Regina?
Brian said that if it's in the city, the cameras wouldn't be an issue, remember? He said that they could make it work, but I'm pretty sure there are cameras on the fire station.
Right. I know that they could put cameras on the United Methodist, but it would be an installation as opposed to, I believe, the fire station.
Right. You're probably correct.
So any other pluses or minuses to discuss? It looks like we're down to the fire station or the Methodist Church.
Yeah, I don't know. And I know Cliff said he should be logging on in a minute.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he just messaged me and said he's about to log on.
Okay. All right. Well, Regina, can we just defer further discussion until Cliff comes on board?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let's go on to, well, I'm going to wait then on the next 2 items, which would be about opening ballots and carrying ballots for when he's able to join us. All right, let's go ahead to the election judge pay scale. At our last meeting, we noted that the pay scale that's being advertised now is higher than the pay scale we put on the application back in November 2020. That pay scale was based on what the county was using for the 2020 elections. So we've been notified that it has been increased. We understand that recruitment of election judges has been more challenging in recent years. So we're, just to put it out there to to Brianna and also to Cliff, and I think Cliff's aware of it already. We're going to be looking at we're going to be looking at a pay scale that's a bit higher than what we did in 2017. I see, David, you're still on the call. I think that when we did talk at the MOU, I think the preference is that we keep it with what the county has been doing. Is that correct? Oh, maybe he's not there.
Maybe he's no longer on.
Yeah, okay. All right. I don't think does that require a vote, Regina? We just know that that's what it's going to be. We just have to change it.
You don't need to vote you don't need to vote on that.
All right. Okay.
It's already part of the MOU cost anyway.
Okay. All right. So it's taken care of. Okay. Regina and Susan, do you have any updates you'd like to talk about the elections office and the day-to-day operations?
I'll give a little report. We've got, processing certificates of candidacy. There's both the pre-processing before they're approved and then post-approval things as far as sending out the handbook and the new campaign finance form and getting their bank account information recorded in their file. We do get questions from candidates and treasurers, so I respond to those. And now the Anne Arundel County Board of Elections has asked us, as soon as a candidate is certified, to send them a copy of the certificate of candidacy so that they can have it for their records, because they want to know how to print names on the ballot. So I'm taking care of that too.
Okay.
Sure. And Regina and I have been working on a review and tracking of the MOU Exhibit B action items, just kind of getting our ducks in a row and making sure that we're looking at action items, dates, deadlines, financial obligations, and trying to just be as prepared as possible. So when things really get rolling, we're ready to do what we need to do. Brianna and I are meeting with Mitchell on Monday to discuss the elections outreach efforts.
Great.
And I will update the election judge application with the new, with the most current rates, and I'll put that up on the website. I had somebody who requested one, and I was just waiting for the board to say, yeah, we want these new amounts. One of the things I did notice that the Anne Arundel County Board has on their election judge form is that instead of giving people the option to work, you could work the primary or the general or both, but their current application says, by completing this application, you agree to work the primary election day and the general election day. How do you feel about that?
I think we can just touch base with them and find out why that has changed.
Happens. That's what typically happens. If you sign up to be a judge, they really want you to work both elections.
Right.
And they do have some judges that fill in just in case people have issues where they can't show up, but they really would prefer you work for both.
Well, our form gives you the option to check a box. And some people, and we've only got one of these back, and the person checked both boxes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, let's touch base. I don't know, David, are you still there? I don't think he's on.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
But we could, that can be checked off, outside the meeting, and then we should just be consistent with the county.
Okay, good. I will make it consistent with the county.
Great.
Okay.
Regina, can you update us on the status of the physical election office and when that might be operational?
Actually, we're working on it. It's a work in progress. We're going to dig into it more as soon as this MOU gets signed. So I'll probably have more information for you at your June meeting.
Okay.
As to what everything will be.
All right. So
And I just want to update everybody. The questions that come in from candidates or citizens, we have to run them by the chair before we answer them, so that the board members can be aware of the questions prior to us responding to the candidate, because sometimes they usurp us and go to you, and we don't want to have a different answer than one you would give. You know what I mean? We want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Right. Okay. Cliff, are you with us?
I think he's getting his microphone situated.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right,
can
sorry
hear-
about that. I forgot I wasn't on my office mic, so.
All right.
All right,
I'm glad you could join us. We started on talking about or doing, identifying the polling in the Dropbox locations. And then when we heard you were coming on, we held up on that.
yippee.
Just to recap, just quickly, the certificates of candidacies have been accepted. We met with David Garris and Joe, and then Dan Oldham, and just wrapped up some things as far as curing and some of the questions. I did try to implement some of your comments, but we did go ahead and vote on, we will be mailing ballots to all registered voters. I did ask about your question, could they just be done in August? And it still created issues because if someone doesn't know in August that they want to do both, it could change. So that's their preferred method, and we went ahead with that. And we haven't really made a finalization about curing and opening ballots, which we can do in a minute, and I can give you some backup on that too.
Okay.
So right now I'd like to go back to the polling locations. We were at number 8. So far for number 1, we have City Hall. For Ward 2, we have the Bush Library. For Ward 3, we have the Mount Olive Community Life Center. For Ward 4, we have the American Legion Cook Pinckney Post. For Ward 5, we have the Pitt Moyer Rec Center. For Ward 6, we have the Eastport Community Center. For Ward 7, we have the Eastport Annapolis Neck Library. And so in looking at Ward 8, we have the Eastport Fire Station, the Mount Zion United Methodist Church, the Eastport United Methodist Church, and the Annapolis Maritime Museum. However, in talking, Brianna and I have pretty much eliminated the Maritime Museum because they're available, but really don't want to be available. I guess I could put it that way. And so we've been kind of going back as far as the Eastport Fire Station versus the Eastport United Methodist Church. The Eastport Fire Station was a polling location in 2017. The United Methodist Church was not in 2017, and it's not clear if it's been in the past or not. Both are on transportation routes, which gave them an advantage over Mount Zion, which doesn't have a transportation route close by. So that's kind of where we're at. Do you want to add anything, Brianna?
I think that's it. Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about parking. I don't know if you have a preference of the fire station. Probably has an advantage also in terms of, we are assuming it has security cameras already in place that we'll be able to access. We'd have to check that with the United Methodist Church. They may have some security, but it's not necessarily going to be hooked up to the city. So there may be an installation piece to that one too.
And the, the drop boxes, of course, they're 24/7. And I think what it was 30 days prior is when they go up.
Correct.
And yeah, and I don't know what kind of lighting. And so I find myself leaning towards the fire station since it is repeating a location we've used before. It has that in from a consistency perspective, has the advantage of being within the city orbit already, and probably as well lit throughout the night. So I think it has some of those advantages. Thrilled with the willingness by other constituents to make themselves available for this. But I think the fire hall, the fire station, I think might be the better choice, but that's my thought.
Uh-huh. Brianna, are you still with us? Do you want to say anything more? I know you were favoring.
I'm still here. The dogs were barking all over the place, so I went
Oh
mute.
dear.
But no, I think the lighting kind of solidifies a good point of having the fire station be the location. I
Right.
didn't really think about that, and I think
Yeah, I think that's a
that's
good
kind
point.
of extra important with having the drop box.
Right. And I imagine they must have, it's a volunteer fire department, but I imagine they probably have someone there at all times at the station. I don't know that for certain, so. All right, so those are the 8 we're talking about. We've already decided that we're doing 1 in each ward. I know there has been some feedback of some concern about having 1 polling location, only 1 as opposed to 2. As we've discussed in the past, and I've sent out a letter to, or an email to a number of constituents, constituent group, the aldermen, candidates, letting them know what our decision process has been. The reality just is we have very limited options, and 1 location in each ward, certainly because these are so consistent and have been in the past, I think will really greatly enhance voters knowing where to vote, not just for this election, but in the future. We also expect now with the vote by mail option that we're going to be getting more ballots ahead of time in the drop boxes. And so the need for in-person voting will be decreased. And just to go on the record that all 8 of these places that we're moving forward with in terms of having as a polling location have all met the standards of the State Board of Elections in terms of being a consolidated polling place. They also are on transportation routes. But again, for me personally, it's really the consistency and identifying so that people know where to vote and don't have to, go one place and find out they needed to be at the other place. So any other comments before we make a final vote?
Not for me.
No. Okay, so can I have a motion to accept these 8 locations as the polling locations for the 2021 elections?
I move to accept the 8 locations as discussed for the locations for voting at the Annapolis 2021 primary and general election.
Second.
Okay. Regina, is that good, or do we need to name them again?
You need an all in favor, and you should name them before you do that.
All right, so we're talking about Ward 1 will be City Hall. Ward 2 will be the Bush Annapolis Library. Ward 3 will be the Mount Olive Community Life Center. Ward 4 will be the American Legion Cook Pinckney Post. Ward 5 is the Pip Moyer Rec Center. Ward 6 is the Eastport Community Center. Ward 7 is the Eastport Annapolis Neck Library. Ward 8 will be the Eastport Volunteer Fire Station.
Now, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, well, so moved.
Thank
So,
you.
good. Big check mark off our list. Now, the next order is, are we still of the same mind that we will be locating drop boxes at those locations, at the polling locations?
I think that's logical.
Okay. Brianna?
It's fine. I'd rather there'd be another option kind of at other ends of wards and stuff. Just kind of for that added layer of accessibility. But I mean, having it at the same place as the polling station is also fine.
Right. So, and again, people are still going to be able to mail. There's mailboxes. They're harder to find these days. And I think another thing just to note is that no matter what ward you're in, you can drop it off at a drop box. So if you
It
live
doesn't matter which drop box. Yeah.
right. So if you live in Ward 8 and you work downtown, then you can drop it off at City Hall. So
that's one of the things that you could, Brianna, you can share with Mitchell at your meeting.
Mhm.
Okay.
You can put your ballot in any drop box. And another thing, where are you guys placing the drop boxes? Because I think when Brianna goes to a meeting, she's gonna, if somebody said, well, the polling place door entrance is here, where are we putting the drop boxes so that they can be consistent? Are they gonna be by the entrance? I mean,
I think we go by the guidance of the state board. I mean, I guess that would have been a good question for Dan when we had him on the call.
I can send them an email tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably have criteria that they use. The other thing that if you could also double check on is, I know in the past I've asked the question when we talk about what's at the 100 feet perimeter. For people having their candidates and signage. I believe that also extends to the drop boxes.
Okay.
If you would just double check. I think for the purposes in past elections, it's been considered a polling location.
Yeah, no what is it called? No electioneering zone.
The electioneering. So just double check on that because that would play into it also.
Yeah, we don't want to have anybody, I mean, these are going to be cameraed. It's not going to be the day of election where other folks can observe if anybody is being, obviously hassled as they're trying to enter a polling location. We don't want that to happen as they're walking up to a drop box and have, anybody hassling them over how they're voting.
Right, exactly. Right, so those are good questions. We talked about the curing of ballots, which what we're looking at is taking the privacy tab off, or letting the State Board of Elections in Anne Arundel County, they would be taking off the privacy flap. And if the oath is not signed, they would be contacting the voter either through email or calling them and giving them the opportunity to sign it. And if I heard it correctly, we're also saying that if they signed it and if they sent something in through email, that would function as a hard copy of a signature, and that could be accepted. Is that your understanding, Ashley? She's not there.
Yes, sorry, kids in the
That's
background.
okay.
Yes, that's my understanding.
I'm not following what that means. If something is sent in by email, what does that mean?
The scan of the document. I think it was Joe who was saying that if they needed them to verify their signature, they would they could sign, do a wet signature on the document and then scan it and send it back. Because it wouldn't technically be an electronic signature since they were scanning the real paper at one point.
Okay.
Correct. Yes, that has been the city practice. As long as there is a wet signature at some point, it can be scanned in. We just don't want to do the purely electronic signature where you basically type your name into a box type thing.
Right. Okay. What is that? Is that what the county has done? Have they done that? Did they do that for the 2020 election?
Yes. Yeah, they didn't do DocuSign. They did what we just described.
So did they respond to how the voter is being contacted about a missed signature?
If they have their email or their phone number, they're calling or emailing them.
Okay.
If they don't have it, then I guess they don't, but they should have it at some point.
So they don't need to appear anywhere to see, well, of course, they wouldn't appear anywhere to sign it if they had signed it when they first sent it in the first place.
And I think, was that the other option you mentioned of, if people needed to sign or something, they could bring them down to Annapolis, or we could get them and bring them down and they could come and sign them. Was that the same conversation, or was that a different aspect?
That was if somebody needed to pick up their ballot.
Okay.
So if they've sent in they've sent this in, they didn't sign it. So what is it that, so they've sent, they don't have it anymore. So what is it that they are scanning and signing and then scanning or taking a picture and sending to us?
The board would scan the envelope and send it to them,
And send it
and
to
they would
them.
sign it. Yeah, they would sign it
They
and
would sign the oath.
wet
on
signature, sign it and scan it, send it back.
So
Or
how,
they could do it in person, go into the
got
board
it.
and
Right.
go in.
So how do we know that what they've signed is a wet signature?
Well, it's just because they've signed it using a pen as opposed to a DocuSign type of thing.
Yes, we could require a certain color pen, non-black
Yeah,
pen.
I mean, I have an electronic signature that I save that I use a lot at work, and I copy and paste it into a document and send it. And once it's printed on the other end, I don't know if you can even tell that it was a wet sign or electronic sign.
You can tell, because I have the same thing. You can tell
Yeah.
that's not my handwritten signature. But I mean, I get your point, definitely.
Yeah. I mean,
You would have to realize that the county also has a copy of their signature on their voter registration form. So they can compare that signature to their.
No, it is not time. No.
but the county's not actually comparing signatures. So we haven't done that before, right? So I don't think they're actually looking
Yeah, they do.
at signatures, are they?
Yes.
On every received mailed in ballot,
If
they're
they're
comparing
missing,
signatures?
If they have to verify them, they're going to look at the signatures they have on file. So you can send your signature back, but they can compare it to what they have on file for you when you filled out your voter registration.
So we could ask that when there is a curing, that will permit the curing, we'll go with this, but in those few instances, and hoping it's few, that we have a curing scenario, that we ask that they, oops, getting echo, that they verify the signature.
I would say yes.
How about we do this? How about at this stage, we say that we're okay with them checking for taking the privacy tab off
Yeah.
and checking for an oath, and that we still need to determine what method we're going to use as far as obtaining a signature.
Right.
Is that
Okay.
fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go vote in person, you don't have that risk. You've signed it, you're right there. This is an oversight that can occur when you're mailing it in, and we're not looking at anything in regard to the vote. We don't see anything in regard to the vote. No.
All right, so how about we just say we're moving forward in this. There's no, Ashley, if you can confirm, there's no code change needed for this. We'll just move in this, and at our next meeting, we'll have a procedure that we'll all agree that we're going to follow.
Yeah, no code change needed, as long as the actual ballot is not open, which I don't interpret as the privacy flap, then you're fine.
Okay. All right, so let's put that on the agenda for the next meeting. We'll make a final decision about the procedure that goes with it. Does that sound good?
That's fair.
All right, moving on to opening of ballots. In that meeting, and I think I've sent some of that information to you, Cliff, is that the opening of ballots, when the ballots begin to be opened, is essentially the canvass. And tonight, Joe confirmed that you could start counting beforehand by opening the canvass. You could start the day after the election, or you could keep it the way it is and start counting the Tuesday after. If I'm, and please others correct me if you had a different perception. What I got from talking from Joe Torres is that perhaps the most feasible is to open the canvass the day after the election. They will have the election judges there, start doing the canvass. It will be open to the public. Unofficial results will be provided to the city each day of the canvass, and then they can be posted. If we get it done in one day, great. If it takes 2 or 3 days, that's fine. The Board of Elections members will need to be there. And then our final meeting would still be the Tuesday after the election, because that's when we would take any ballots that were coming in. And then we would finish up that Tuesday. So those are the three options, but if I heard them correctly, I think the most viable or feasible option is to open the canvass the day after the election.
And I think one of the items, I guess, that we had thought might be true, and it sounds like it's probably true, is that to try to open the canvass on the day of election is not feasible, because so much of the expertise involved with that whole process flow are actually trying to monitor the in-person election and not available to assist with what needs to happen with the canvass being open to start opening up those ballots on Tuesday, the day of election, ergo doing it the day after.
Correct.
Okay.
So Brianna, do you have any comments on which one that you prefer?
I'd rather go with, right after. That way we can hopefully get them knocked out that Wednesday, Thursday, hopefully Wednesday.
And then it'll be a short canvass on.
Reconvene Tuesday, get any of the last ones and be done.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Regina, Susan, and Ashley, your thoughts, comments?
I agree with Brianna.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. So
I drafted the legislation, so I'm fine with it.
okay. So Ashley, could you review what the legislation actually is going to say?
The legislation is just going to change the wording from the canvass opening to the Tuesday following the election to the next business day after the election. So it's just a very simple change. Our legislative analyst is being extra cautious by adding the word business in there, which I think is honestly already covered, but she just wanted to be thorough. So it'll be the next business day after the election.
Now, the only other thing that I'd like to mention is the way we put in the legislation for the deadline for receipt says they must be received by 10 a.m. on the day of the opening of the canvass.
Yep.
And so that will need to be changed also.
Yep.
Okay, I will add it to my list.
So I guess it would be, just needs to be, because we have to have that, the way we have it now, it would be that Tuesday after, but it's the wording, I guess, as far as the opening of the canvass. So if you could take a look at that, that needs to be looked at. So ideally, this can be looked at at the June 24th City Council meeting, if not that one, the first one in June. Okay. Regina, do we need to take a vote on that?
No, because when Ashley submits that legislation to the to the city, and it's adopted on first reader, it'll come to you guys for comment before it gets adopted. So then you can discuss it on your next meeting agenda.
Okay, and after the first reader, would it go to the Rules Committee?
Yeah, it would have is this going to be an ordinance, Ashley?
Yes, it's an ordinance.
Okay, so it would have a public hearing and then it would go to the Rules Committee.
Okay.
So if it was ready for the meeting on Monday, you could possibly have your public hearing on June 14th and then have the bill adopted on the 24th or whatever the second meeting is in June.
Okay, well, that would be ideal.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm just looking here to see if there's anything else under election updates we need to discuss. I think we've got it all. All right, let's move on, which I think we probably should have just deferred it. Ballot questions. Do you have anything? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for interrupting again. Susan and I met went yesterday, I think, and we went through Exhibit B. You guys should really look at Exhibit B. There are lots of dates in there where you guys have to be places. So we're condensing a list and we'll have that ready for you in a couple of days, where you have to be somewhere at 9, at 5:30 in the city, voter registration. We looked through the calendar and there are at least 7 days.
Okay.
At least.
Do all of us have to be there for all of those dates or just one of us?
That's kind of why I wanted you to look at it, because if you need to vote on something, you might have to have a quorum.
Okay, I think that's what we've done before, as long as there were two of us there.
Yeah.
So we can work that out. Okay, all right, so that's our homework, everybody, Exhibit B. Okay, anything you want to bring up with the ballot question, or should we just go ahead and defer it, Cliff?
Yes, I mean, at this point, to my knowledge, there's been no formal request of such an intent to have a question on the ballot. So I would only say that should a request come in the next couple of weeks, that we may need to find a way to respond fairly quickly given the timelines.
Okay.
So that just a caveat to us to actually, should that happen. We kind of looked at this a while ago and would follow largely what the state does. But at this point, we've not had any kind of formal request addressed to the board.
Okay, well, if you could, continue working on that. I do know that the Charter Revision Commission is looking at that. And, along with the number of other things, even though it's technically not in the charter, they are looking at it. Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is a campaign question.
The fundraising one.
Sorry?
The fundraising one.
Yes, from Karma O'Neill's campaign. Did everybody get a chance to look at that?
Yeah,
I did.
I've got it up here.
Okay, so the question is, our team is considering having a silent auction fundraiser. Like most auction fundraisers, we were requesting donations of goods and services to auction off. Proceeds will go to the campaign. We understand the code related to accepting in-kind donations limits per donor, as well as providing tangible goods to individuals. Do you or the Election Commission see any issues or code items that would prohibit a silent auction? So Ashley, I don't know if you got my call earlier today to see if you could take a look at this.
I did. My thoughts are they have to obey the donation limits, even though it's intangible things potentially. The donations need to go through the treasurer, just like monetary donations would, so they can be tracked. And of course, they can't caveat receipt or participation in the silent auction on voting for a specific candidate.
Okay.
So that means on a campaign report that you could, if somebody donated an item fair value of $100, then on the in-kind page of the campaign report, it would reflect that contribution of $100. If at the silent auction, somebody purchases that item now for $100, now the campaign has an in-kind for $100, and now they have cash in hand for $100. So whoever pays that $100 now that the campaign has, does that person get reflected as making $100 payment on the contributions? Because that's what's given to cash, or does that person not get reflected anywhere? How does that? There's a little bit of double counting going on here in a way.
Right.
So where does that get reflected? Because somebody's actually made a true hard value contribution. And so, two parties have played a role in contributing towards this fundraiser.
And then it would have one total donation value. You could look at it
Right.
that way instead of two separate ones. I would also want to make sure that the fair market values are truly fair market.
Right.
Having done a lot of silent auctions, they can end up being priceless or, great day of fun or something like that. So,
I'm sure that these have happened quite a bit throughout the state. There might be, if we're not quite sure how this been treated between both sides of the coin, we might have guidance from the state or the county with these.
Right. I would also anticipate that they would be expected to pay state taxes. sales tax, which technically silent auctions, I believe, are supposed to do. But that would just be something to check on. I think these are all good questions. Ashley, is this something that you are willing or that you can follow up on, maybe talk with Jared or just look into it a little bit more and send us your comments or something?
Yeah, I'll take a look at, they have that manual with recommendations, see if there's anything in there. And if not, I'll reach out to Jared.
Okay. All right. That'd be great. All right. So we'll wait and get some more information before responding to the campaign. Susan and Regina, can you follow up with Mr. Chase and just let them know that the board discussed it at this meeting and we are requesting additional information, including from the State Board of Elections, and we will get something to them as soon as we can, but it may not be until the next meeting either.
Yes, I can send that out and let the treasurer know.
Okay.
Just one last thought or comment on that. If somebody were having some form of fundraiser and they were actually going out to purchase items that they were going to resell at a higher value, you would see on their Schedule 2, I think, expenses. So you'd see, hey, $25 in expense. Oh, $100. That kind of leaves the campaign because you had to pay $25 to put on the fundraiser, and then you'd see contributions of $100. They net 75, and they've done all very well. So in a certain respect, the in-kind side is simply the expense side in a way except it was all donated. They didn't have to have that expense associated with being able to put on their fundraiser.
Right. Another question I would have, Ashley, is would the campaign be obligated to let the donors, particularly if it's a business, make them aware that this is for a campaign fundraiser?
I would think they would need to do that.
Okay. So it may be that if I'm putting this together right, it may be something that's possible, but it sounds like there may be some hoops that have to be jumped through to be able to do it. So we'll look into it and then give them some feedback. Okay. Any other comments or questions on that? All right. Next item is just the legislation update. I know independent expenditures was at the went to first reader at the last city council meeting, and it's going to the rules committee. I forget the date. But Alderman Savage, I believe, is on the rules committee, and he's asked me to be available to answer questions that day. Ashley, did you have a comment?
No comment. I'll let you know if the council members have any weigh in, but it's up for first reader and moving along. So I think we're good.
Okay, great. Well, and I give you a lot of credit, Ashley, for moving us forward with this. And I know Jared DeMoranis was pretty pleased when he saw that it was moving forward. And I also recently had the opportunity to talk with State Senator Sarah Elfrith, who was also very pleased to hear that this legislation was moving through the city. Any other items before we get to our last two? Nope, we've gotten a lot done tonight. All right, the last item on the agenda is the annual election of the Board of Supervisors of Elections Chair.
Oop, gotta go.
Me too.
Thanks, Cliff. So certainly with amongst the three of us, any one of us can handle it. I'm currently the chair. I'm willing to continue being chair, but I'm also willing to pass the baton if someone else is interested. So Brianna, Cliff, speak up or forever hold your peace.
I move for you to stay chair.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I will second that and provide my deep appreciation for all the effort you've put forth. I just know that I would, on my part, I would not be able to extend the time that you've been able to devote to this. So thank you very much.
Glad I have the availability. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, any opposed? All right, and that brings us to our last item, which would be adjournment. Anybody else have anything to do before we make a motion?
I got nothing.
How about a motion then? 8:29.
Motion to adjourn at 20:30.
A second.
All right, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved. All right, everybody, I know it was a longer than usual meeting, but we got a lot done. And we still have some homework to do, but we are within the 6 months before election. So all the fun is really just gonna keep
Just start.
coming.
Oh, yay.
Everybody find your name tags.
Oh, that's right.
I know where
it is.
mine is.
Yep.
I
know
I
think
just
exactly
saw
where
it
my
is.
jewelry
yesterday.
box.
Good job.
Does
Have a
Susan
good
have
day.
one? Did she get one for the special election?
Oh,
No.
no, don't worry, you will get one ASAP.